In this video, I'm going to show you a bit in regards to working with footnotes. I've placed my insertion point at the end of this text data toolkit, and for starters, I'll just go in and quickly insert a footnote. So the footnote's inserted, and previously I just copied some text, so I'm going to do a paste as generic text to the ditaopentoolkit.org site. What I've done is taken the phrase in regards to the data toolkit, added a footnote, and it appears with a 1. And down at the bottom of the page, what I see is the footnote with a horizontal rule above, and it has a 1. It's indented a little bit, and it has a default appearance. I'm going to add another footnote prior to this, and I'm not going to put in anywhere near the same type of text. I'm just going to type in a bit of gibberish to get things started. I'll click here and choose special footnote. So I'm inserting a footnote before. This is before, and I'll insert one more footnote after. Multiple groupings of domains generally associated with technical content. I click special footnote. That gives me my third footnote, another after. And lastly, I'll click inside the table where I'm going to add a footnote as well. So I'll add one right here, used to mark up names of windows or dialogues. I click at the end of dialogues, special footnote, and this adds a footnote below table. The appearance of the footnote is driven by the paragraph designer. So going in and changing around the appearance of a table footnote is pretty straightforward. I can change this so that instead of Times New Roman, it's set up with Comic Sans, which I don't normally recommend doing, and I will update all. So you can see the appearance of it has changed. However, it's touching against the table. We'll resolve that a little later. There's also a set of footnotes down here that are already set up with Myriad Pro 8 point. In order to change the look of the text in the footnote, you use your paragraph designer. But in order to change the properties of the footnote itself, you have to go in and take a slightly different approach. So I'm going to start off by making some changes here. If I choose Format Document, I have Footnote Properties. And inside the Footnote Properties, I have two primary chunks, Footnote and Table Footnote. So you can see that the Table Footnote uses the style Table Footnote, which is the one that I changed to Comic Sans. And the default footnote uses a format called footnote. Pretty straightforward. That's the one that we just looked at a moment ago. The maximum height per column defines how much space is available at maximum inside a column. So in a 2-column document, you might have the first column with 2 inches of footnotes and the next one with 2, but it's going to limit this to 4 inches. If I change that to 2.5 inches, it leaves less space for the footnote. So if you have a lot of footnotes, it increases the likelihood that they continue on to the next page. Numbering style is documented right here. To set the numbering style, choose Format, Document Numbering. So I'll take a look at that in a moment. And the other piece is the appearance of the footnote. So you can see just at the top corner above the dialogue, I've got a little 3, and that is the appearance of the footnote in the main text. So it's set up to be at the superscript. If I change that to be a subscript, the footnote will appear in a moment below the line where the words technical content are. If I was to change this so that it was at baseline, it would appear right at the baseline. The prefix and the suffix is what appears before or after the footnote. The other piece I have is the footnote itself. So this one's set to be baseline, and that makes sure that the number 1, 2, and 3 at the bottom of the page are set up nice and even with the text that reads this is before, or the web link, or another after. Again, I'll make a change on this to be superscript. Prefix, I'll put in footnote number sign and a single space, and I'll leave the suffix with the punctuation of the full stop and a single space. So I'm just changing around some of the footnote properties in here, and I click set. And what you'll see is that up here where technical content exists, the 3 is now appearing below. And down at the bottom, each of the footnotes has the preface of the word footnote, the number sign, the spaces, and all of that is set up to be superscript. I'll go back in here under Format, Document, Footnote. I'm just going to go in and make a couple changes to make this look a little more like it was previously, which is basically what I like a footnote to look like inside the document. It's sort of a common default appearance. Now it's back. The footnote at the bottom has the 1, 2, 3 with everything lining up nicely. Up here I have technical content, which ends with the number 3, and that's set up as superscript. I also have the numbering, and in Format, under Document, Numbering, this can be configured. So currently the footnote in the table is A, and the footnotes in the document are 1, 2, and 3. I can go in and change around, and I have to scroll across here a little bit, but I have footnote and table footnote. So if I don't want alphabetical for table footnotes, I have a lot of options. The same thing with the footnote itself. If I switch to footnote, I can decide what the first footnote number is, or I can tell it to restart on each page, or continue from the previous footnote in a book. That would ensure that the footnote on the previous chapter, which maybe ended with 82, continues on this one with 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, and so on. If you want to change it from numeric to any of the settings, again, it's available inside here, and then you would set. I'm not going to bother making any changes in here. I'm just going to leave it exactly as is, but I want you to be aware that you can control footnote and table footnote numbering. Now, table footnotes right now have the look of below table with the Comic Sans, and it has the A in it. I'm going to insert 1 or 2 more footnotes, and I'm just going to do that by choosing special footnote, and I'll do one more. Keep an eye on the bottom here where 1, 2, and 3 exist. I'll add in one more footnote, and I'll put that at the beginning here in front of the A, B, and C, so that the footnote that currently reads below table is actually going to be set up to become B, and this one here, which is the last one, is going to set up to become the letter C. So I click, I choose special, I insert another footnote, and because I'm in a table, it gives me A and B, and the 1, 2, and 3 still work exactly as they should be, but C has vanished, and if I actually scroll down, it appears onto the next page. If I add another footnote inside my document where I have my 1, 2, and 3, the same type of thing is going to happen. So I'm going to choose special, footnote, and the 4 appears on the next page. So it ends up looking a little messy. If I want to change that, one last time, format, document, and footnote properties. And inside the footnote properties, I can specify the maximum height per column. Let's say 4 inches for this one. The table footnote doesn't have that property. I choose set. It tries to reorganize with the space that's going to be available, but because of the amount of content I have, nothing happens. So on its own, I've set a bunch of space. I've set that 4 inches of space to be available down here, but the document just has too much content, and therefore the footnotes don't fit. Again, keep an eye on it. I'm just going to go into my content and select a paragraph and delete it. When I've deleted it, I've added a bit more space, and now you can see that the A and the B and the C and the 1, 2, 3, and 4 all appear on this page. I'll just zoom back. The other issue that I run into is this horizontal ruling, this line that appears, and the fact that the A, B, and C are so tight up against the table. In order to configure this and maybe change the Comic Sans, I'm going to use a combination of properties. Let me start with the Comic Sans. When I open up my table footnote, I can see it's Comic Sans 10 point, whereas the footnotes down here are Myriad Pro 8 point. So if I click in a footnote, I get Myriad Pro 8 point. If I click here in a table footnote, I get a format that I want to change. So Myriad Pro, I'll make it 8 point, and I'll update all. That's a paragraph design change. Nice, relatively quick and clean. I also have A, B, and C, and it reads almost like a single letter. There's no punctuation like there is with the 1, 2, and 3. So let's do a little more cleanup in here. Format document and footnote properties, but this time in the table footnote, I'm going to ensure that in the footnote itself there is a suffix, and it's going to be matching the punctuation that I type in here. So what I'll do is put in a parenth and a single space and then set. And what you'll see is the A, B, and C change. And now it's a little friendlier in its appearance. So far, so good, pretty quick. Let's go in and make a couple more changes. Let's go in and change around the appearance of the line. We know about the paragraph designer. We know about going in under format document and using the number of the footnote properties. There's one more set of properties that you are able to control the appearance of content with, and that's in the reference page. So if I view the reference page, I'm going to see the code behind the scenes of this document. And one of the things I have in it is this chunk that reads footnote. I'm going to choose view and turn on my borders. And that lets you see this box that then contains the ruling, the line, and it has a bit of a space above it, and it has a bit of a space below it. The line itself is gray, and the box, if I click on the border, look at the bottom of my screen, dead center. It reads frame: footnote. So that frame name, if I click in it, gives me a pop-up. That frame name is exactly the same as the paragraph tag. So what I'm going to do is create something for a table footnote, and I'll give it a unique appearance. Before I do that though, let's go in and just take this line, which I select by clicking on it, and then I choose Graphics Tools, and I'm going to change the line a little bit. I'll make a couple of quick changes here. First of all, I'll take the line itself and make it red. Then I'm going to take the line and change the thickness to 4 points. And lastly, I'm going to take the line and give it a dash pattern. When I go and view my body pages, just closing the graphics tools there, I view my body pages. And what we're going to see is that at the bottom of the page where the footnote is, it has now changed its appearance. And the appearance is set up to have a dashed line. Now, at first it didn't show up in there. I did a keyboard shortcut of refreshing just to make sure that my screen redrew, but there is the line. The width of the line and the space above and below is controlled by its placement inside that dialog box, or sorry, inside that graphic box. So this line, you can see the length of it. If I go in and I view the reference page again, and I make this box wider, and I take the graphic and I make it larger, what I'm going to end up with is a new appearance. So that gives me the new look and feel. It now has the line, it's wider, it's red, it's large, all those goodies are in place. However, I don't have anything working with the table footnote. So I click up in Table Footnote, and I'm going to clean this one up a little bit as well. It's called Table Footnote. To make my life easy, I'm going to copy this text so that I have the exact spelling of the footnote. Then I'm going to go in and choose View, and under the View menu, I'm going to go to my reference page. And in the reference page, I need a little text block for my own convenience, something like this. So again, I have to open my graphics tools. I create a text line, and I just paste in Table Footnote. That's so that I, as the human being, have the convenience of being able to take a look at it and say, oh, this, the word footnote, represents what the purpose of this box is. The same way that I have a box here for a footer line, or I have one here for a thin line. And those are the frame names. They don't have to technically match. So I could type in Table Footnote, click at the end of it, is seen below. And then I have to create a box similar to this one. This one is a frame called Footnote. So I'm going to come along inside my document, draw a frame. I'll make it relatively large and name it Table Footnote. And I know what the name is because I'm actually looking at it up above. I click Set. Now this is a huge box for the Table Footnote, and it's going to appear above the first footnote. So let's go take a look at what it's done. View the body page. This is likely not exactly what I had in mind. There's my A and B, and it's put in a massive gap up above it. If I want a smaller gap or I want a visual gap, by the way, I'm going to do the window refresh, Control L. There's that line reappearing. That's just because I'm jumping back and forth, plus the video capabilities of the machine that I'm using. So on occasion, if you don't see it, try Control L or window refresh. Anyway, check out the size of the gap that's here, up above the A. Once more, I go through, I view, I go back to the reference page, and in the reference page, I'll take this box, and I'll just make it a little smaller. And once more, view my body pages. So all I'm doing is changing the gap above the very first paragraph, and you can see the result is a smaller gap right inside here. And lastly, if I want to add some sort of a graphic in there, I can go in and view my reference page. Here's where my table footnote's going to appear. I use my graphics tools. I create a line inside this location. I'll just indent the line a little bit. Now it's a large red line, so again I'm going to come in and make it smaller. I'll make it a solid line. I'm going to change the color on this to be black. Closing my graphics tools, and I view the body page. And now you can see down at the bottom of the page, there's my graphical line above. It's creating a gap. I have my footnotes A, B, and C. Here's the line for the footnotes that are in the body of my document, and they appear as 1, 2, 3, 4.